Hello and how are you, toy sports lovers out there? My name is Robbie Gillette and welcome to conversation number 16 of the Keep It Real with Robbie podcast, where we chat all things from the mental side of sport to stories, laughs and banter. Whether it's the old pigskin or the old leather ball, we've got you. Today I'm joined by Howie Kahn, a man who has somewhat conquered rugby journalism and has made a huge impact on the world of sport in South Africa and around the world, having worked with the Leicester Tigers, Western Province and the Crusaders, and is currently responsible for the marketing of the juggernaut that is Adidas South Africa. Join us as we follow Howie's journey and tap into the unbelievable stories he has to tell. I consider myself very lucky chatting to him, and I certainly left this chat wanting more. Maybe over a beer or two next time. I hope you guys enjoy and let me know what you guys think. Howie, how's it going?
Robbie, very good, man. And you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm Addy head to toe today. And you know what they say about being Addy head to toe. You can't be bad. You can't have a bad day in Addy. So yeah, I'm eager to chat to a guy that I really admire. I think, for what you've achieved in your career, specifically in the sporting sphere. I don't know you personally, but I know your dad, and I'm sure you're a great dad at that. But yeah, Howie's quite a humble guy. So what I say now, he's gonna brush off and he's gonna deny it. But yeah, he's had a seriously impressive career. And by the way, I think you should have a Wikipedia page. Just from I sent Howie the contents, and then he hit me back with all these things, and I was like, okay, well, this has certainly taken my my excitement levels through the roof. But yeah, a guy who somewhat conquered rugby journalism, having worked with John Dobson, with Rugby 365, the Leicester Tigers, the Crusaders. I suppose success follows Howie Kahn, am I right?
No. I follow success. I'm a glory hunter. I just go after the big teams and the big brands. So, listen, first and foremost, your flattery will get you everywhere. You're saying nice things about me. You're wearing Adidas, and we might as well end it while we're ahead here.
Head to toe.
Yeah, no, but it's really lucky to chat. It turns out I know your uncle. You can't hide from people in Cape Town, can you?
Not at all.
Yeah. So yeah, Flip, it's honestly, I think you've actually run out of guests. That's why you've come to me. You've done well, Robbie. You've had some brilliant guests on. I'm lucky enough to know, I think, about 99% of them, some outstanding guests, and I've listened to a few of your podcasts, so well done to you, and keep it going, man. Just enjoy
awesome.
what you're doing, and I'm sure you'll keep getting some great guests. I guess obviously I can't be worse than Tom Dawson Squibb. I definitely, it's good to know that you allow people with zero sporting talent to be on the show. So
well,
that's what Tom and I.
The guy who hosted has zero sporting talent, so I guess who am I to judge?
We should start our own little podcast there.
Oh, that's the thing.
Me and Tom.
And I guess you're running the juggernaut, the monster that is sports marketing for ADSA. So yeah, I'm lucky. You are. I'm privileged to have you on. And I know this may be a bit off script, but not off topic, so I'm going to run with it. So you mentioned, Leicester Tigers, your long relationship with John Dobson, media consulting for the Crusaders. I think can you kind of just chat us through how you got into those positions? And then once we chat about your role with Province a bit later, then we can go into comparing notes and that. But I think let's chat about how you got into those spheres.
No, sure. I actually want a quick question to you. How old are you, and what's your background? Because this will sort of lead me into my answer.
Okay, I am 20 years old. First year student at UCT. I decided to take a gap year last year, which didn't work out, so I ended up redoing my maths. So I had a great year last year. Lots of fun.
Must be terrible.
Yeah.
And what are you studying, Robbie?
So I'm doing psychology and media. Media studies.
Cool. Yeah. So that's where you want to go, right? Media is the place you want to go.
Howie, to be honest with you, when I first started this, I wanted to do coaching, but now I'm gonna go with the flow and see what happens, and I'm not gonna set myself to a specific path, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, so this kind of leads me into my answer. So I was very lucky. I went to Weinberg Boys, the College of Knowledge, produced some outstanding sportsmen along the way. And we did work shadows in our grade 11 year, standard 9. I went to school a long time before you did, closer to your uncle and your dad, I think, unfortunately. And we had this gap at in the middle of our standard 9 year, well, grade 11, just after the exams, and we had a gap to do a work shadow.
Mm.
So my first love was cricket. And I opted to go do my work shadow at SA Cricket Action magazine, which is now SA Cricket magazine, or Cricket Mag, I think what it's called. And I did a work shadow there, and the editor was Clive Deering, who's done a lot of publishing in his time, and he was just very busy with the deadline. And towards the end of my first day there, I sort of wandered out the office and bumped into John Dobson, who I didn't know who the hell he was. He was 26 at the time, and he had just become the editor of SA Rugby magazine. And we kind of just hit it off. And next thing we were driving around Cape Town buying some stuff because he was off to the World Cup final in '95. It was a couple of days before the '95 World Cup final, which was a number of years before your birth, obviously. So yeah, we just hit it off. And after that, every holiday, every opportunity, every school holiday, my initial sort of first year varsity vac, I went back and I worked at SA Rugby magazine. I used to file photos. Like back in the day, you had print photos or like slides. And that's how we filed them. I did newspaper cuttings. I did all kind of stuff. And all I got at the end of the day was a pile of magazines to take home. And maybe they were actually BMG, I think Sony Music or something to that effect, used to be in the same building at that stage. I used to get discount on CDs. So I was able to buy like a couple of CDs at a discount price and magazines. And I was like, and I think I once got a Sportsman's Warehouse voucher. So life was sweet.
Sure.
And
living.
Exactly. And kept in touch with John. I mean, these were days before cell phones, so you had to phone home. Like I remember one Sunday phoning, and his dad answered, Paul, who very sadly passed away quite recently, and he said, "Don't you have manners?" and sort of put the phone down on me because I phoned on a Sunday night and didn't even introduce myself. And then from there, 1999, in my third year, my very checkered third year of my academic studies, John. Yeah, very scenic, very scenic. John started Rugby 365. There was a guy that he knew from UCT, and next thing you know, they started Rugby 365, and he wanted me to come work for him. And I said, listen, there's no way I'm going to do this. I'm studying. And the next thing, he rocked up at my house on the Monday morning and said, get in, we're going. And I went to work, and that was that. Couple of months later, Yander Quinning, who was an old hack in those days already, he at SAPA and all that, he's still there now, believe it or not, 20 odd years later, still holding the fort. De Jong Borchardt, who's one of the SA Rugby comms guys, he worked there with me. Richard Hardiman, who was a part-time DJ on KFM in those days. Nick Said, who's become a prolific content editor in the soccer world. And we were all these youngsters working together and just loving it. We worked these like late nights and Saturdays, Sundays, and we just wrote and spoke, and it was just rugby. It was insane.
Yeah.
And it all just, I mean, like I was definitely thrown in the deep end. I had no idea what I was doing, what I was writing about, how to write, like, and I just learned on the job. And we watched the 99 World Cup was our first major assignment, so we were there. Wow. Fortunately, the time zones weren't too bad. It was in the UK then, but we grafted, like full sort of 12, 14-hour shifts, 7 days a week. It was absolutely insane. And the cool thing was, whenever you worked late, you could go and get a meal and get your money back with your receipt. So we worked at Albion Springs, and we used to jump in whoever had a car and drive to Chippy's Prego. In those days, a Prego steak roll was 20 Rand or something stupid. Get back and add the receipts together and claim some exorbitant amount, and then go get beers with the rest of the money, So we really had a great time, and like learning on the job, as I said, and Rugby 365 evolved. It got bought out by Planet Rugby. In the early 2000s, and we became like a huge rugby content house, and life was fantastic. And even through the little internet bubble that burst, we still kept going. And then 2004, I got a call out of the blue from Leicester Tigers to go work in their communications department, which sounds wonderful. It was just two of us, but I basically packed my bags. Our office was like a little prefab at Welford Road, fantastic stadium, but like coming from Newlands and all that, 48,000 people got to Welford Road, where Martin Johnson and them just won a World Cup, and the capacity was 16,000, and my office was like a little prefab on a ladder. And that was also just, as a, what was that, as a 26-year-old working there, traveling a little bit around Europe with the team and stuff, which was incredible. Met some incredible people there, people I
Yeah.
worked with, people in the rugby side of things. Absolutely outstanding. Came back, obviously rejoined 365 as one does.
Obviously.
Back under Dobbo's reign again, his reign of terror, and evolved a little bit and sort of led the content teams. And at that stage, Prime Media bought Rugby 365, so I was
Okay.
involved with iAfrica.com, which is a big news portal at that stage. And just kept chugging. And then there, I started getting into the marketing side of things a bit. So
Okay.
eventually I said, look, I've had enough of this. And I started my own little business,
Okay.
doing marketing and PR and comms and stuff like that, and picked up the Varsity Cup account and FNB Classic Clashes. And that's when I did a bit of consultancy with the Crusaders, because I knew Daryl Gibson, who was at Leicester Tigers when I was there. And, ended up that year, 2011, the Crusaders were here twice. So I worked for them both those weeks. I sat in like team talks. And
Wow.
I never forget the media conference I had to arrange for Sonny Bill Williams, and the amount of media that turned up for that was just
Must have been
truly
crazy.
insane, because Sonny was definitely ahead of his time. Nobody knew what he was like as a rugby player, but as a sort of marketing, as a brand, everybody wanted a piece of him. That was absolutely incredible, like a huge thrill to meet him and to work with him. And then thereafter, I think, to be honest with you, I'd realized at that stage that the communications life was more me, not the sort of mainstream media. I couldn't see myself doing that forever. And I think that the dream was always to get into Western Province Rugby. And very fortunately, I always tell him, got to thank Andre Pollard for it, because there was a big furor, big media storm over him signing for the Bulls in 2012. And Western Province didn't actually have a media manager at that stage. And that's when they decided, listen, they actually need a media manager. They can't keep taking hidings like this in the media. I saw the job being advertised. I put my name in the hat. I seemingly interviewed well, and that was that. Ended up there for 4 years. Brilliant, great memories. Oddly enough, got reunited with John Dobson again. Kept trying to get away from him, but got reunited again. Can't get away from him. And then at the start or end of 2015, I moved over to Adidas in my current role.
Wow. What's it like working with John Dobson? He seems like a guy who's very driven.
Now listen, he is the most unique individual you will ever come across. And the crazy thing is, I think he's an outstanding writer. I mean, he's got his master's in creative writing, so he could write a fantastic book one day. But I think I would actually like to write the book about him, because he's far too humble. Yeah, he wouldn't mention half the stuff that he's actually done. I mean, we used to he coached UCT when I was actually away in England for like a year and a half, and they won the InterVarsity in Stellenbosch in 2004, just before I left actually. And that was the first time they'd won InterVarsity in 18 years or something stupid like that. And he took this team with like Dallin Stanford and Paul Mbiyozo, David Ricketts, Richard Ince, who was the hooker who weighed like 62 kilograms or something. And they were up against the star-studded Marty's team, and they beat them in Stellenbosch.
Wow.
They played on the Saturday. Some people only go back to Cape Town on the Tuesday.
Obviously.
as you would imagine. Exactly. And then he lost his job there, and then sort of went to the rugby wilderness, so to speak, for a while. But then he realized, no, hang on, I actually want to be a coach. Because at UCT in that era, it was very amateur. And he then went and upskilled himself. And he went to the Murray Mexted Academy and all kinds of things. And he upskilled himself bit by bit. And when the Varsity Cup started in 2008, that was his sort of rebirth again. He had coached UCT under-21s the year before, a very, very talented team. Yeah. Guys like Kyle Brown, Donna Munt, Matt Rosley were all in that team. They beat everybody, like everybody, Marty's included, by 50 every week. And he used to go in the Varsity Cup days, and he used to go, every Friday we used to go to the Rondebosch, always back to Rondebosch for some reason, to the Rondebosch Clicks, and he used to spend 800 Rand on strapping, all of his own money. Sure. On the Monday, the guys would go eat before the game. He'd host them for a massive lunch. The the pre-game meal would be at his house. His wife would cater, and he would give them the team talks and do all the video stuff there and everything. And the amount of preparation that he puts into a game, I mean, I've seen him so broken after matches, because he just can't, after losses, he's a terrible loser. I even used to beat him on PlayStation back in the days for a week. But just what he puts into it, and what he wants from his players, he just wants them to be better people. And he just wants them to leave everything out there on the weekend. And and he wants him to also have a good night out afterwards. He's very good like that. He believes the guys need to have a bit of fun, be balanced. And no, he's a remarkable human, intelligent, driven, and not scared to think out the box and take a chance.
Yeah, yeah, jeez. I mean, from the 5 minutes, or I don't know how long, but we've been on here. It's these are stories that I feel like you've got just lined up. Awesome, awesome
I've
to have
got
a
a
beer
few.
with face to face. Once,
Yeah, we
once
can
we,
arrange. I'll
once
give
we,
you the real stories then.
yeah. So that's the thing. Once we get the studio up and running for the podcast, then we're gonna have to have a recall of Howie Kahn for the. for the but yeah, I think let's go to your role at Adidas. You know, like you said, you left at the end of 2015 and you're with Province. That must have been a fairly good gig. What made you switch over to Adi?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna die at Province. I thought that was my job. I've done it.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I'm losing my mind already. I'm only 41 and a bit, almost 42, and I can't remember my ages and stuff. But I think I was like in my sort of mid-ish 30s, almost mid-30s, and life was great. I hadn't met my wife yet, so I was still able to push the hours working and stuff like that. So the
yeah,
one thing is that like since '99, since I was 21, I was working almost 7 days a week. Like
yeah,
rugby's rugby media, rugby communications, whatever, any media job is all encompassing. It's a 7 day a week job, whether you like it or not. So at Province Rugby, your Sundays were spent speaking to the coaches and prepping for the week with regards to the media conferences and the media access and all that, doing an injury report, just finding out what's going on, what tone you need to have sort of set for the week. Then your Monday through to Friday is prepping for the weekend. Friday normally involved a few beers just to relax, and then Saturday was work again, whether
yeah.
it was home or away. So I think to be brutally honest, the big attraction was just having a bit of a normal life, just getting
Okay.
rid of the weekend work. And the other attraction was, just to try something new, just to evolve a bit. And yeah, I mean, hell, I'm coming up to 5 years now, and I think I've evolved so much. Like I thought I knew everything at Western Province in the rugby sphere, but I've come into a business that is just insane. It's 60,000 employees around the world. We've got
That's
50
mad.
stores in South Africa alone. It is a massive brand, and the one thing I must say is I'm damn grateful, or I'm damn lucky, number one, and damn grateful for the places I've worked and the people that I've met. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
consider myself very, I think as a kid you grow up, you think that good luck is to win the lottery or whatever it is.
yeah,
But I think I've got very lucky along the way. I've worked very hard at connections. Worked very hard at relationships,
yeah.
people in the industry, and yeah, and I think I'd like to think it's sort of served me okay over my professional life.
That's why I'm loving this podcast so much. Not because of anything else that I get to. Okay, so now it's over Zoom, but potentially in the next year, I'm meeting people in the industry, and I'm loving it. But I want to go back to something that you said now with regards to living a normal life. Would you say that you struggled with almost working all the time, when somewhat your mind doesn't switch off? Because
Yeah.
I say like I'm gonna go like hard for 6 months, yeah, and then it's like, well, then 6 months turns into 6 years, and then you sit in there like you've worked so hard, and you haven't, I don't know, I guess played. Yeah,
No, listen, I tell you what, there was never a lack of playing. I can promise you that. The one thing is you would work for 12 hours and then go play for 12 hours, and it wasn't enough time to sleep. But
yeah,
it's just like small things like, because I was sort of working full time at a young age, I missed 21st, I missed weddings,
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
mm,
Um, it was probably quite hard to have a proper relationship with someone,
yeah,
and that's why I think like when my wife and I got pretty serious at that stage, it was also like kind of in my thinking and knowing that hopefully there'd be a family in the not too distant future. Look, I think I mean, I sound like an old man here, but at your age, just flip and go for it, eh? Like balls to the
yeah,
wall,
yeah,
draw as
yeah,
much
yeah.
as you can, work, like any like travel related opportunity within work, just go for it. But I think eventually, and because that's the time you got to sort of, this industry is not gonna you're not going to retire at 40 in this industry. I can promise you that. But that I think all your build up is all about building as many connections and making as much experiences as possible. It's different to being an accountant or a lawyer, where by the time you get to 40, you actually can sort of pick your jobs a bit and wind down a bit, and the income starts increasing quite
Yeah.
considerably.
Yeah.
Where I was of all my peer group, I was the guy working from a young age, so that's why they were always able to make the 21sts and the weddings and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, no, I think like zero regret certainly, and I wouldn't say there wasn't enough time for anything. It's just a case of prioritizing as you get a bit older in life. That's all.
Yeah. And then what? So what does your role look like at Adidas? And then I guess, what does Howie Kahn's office look like? Is it 9 to 5 in a cubicle, or you? It looks like you're out and about quite a bit. Yeah. How does Howie Kahn's office look?
Just, I wish I could get out and about more. Look, obviously this year has been a bit mad. So my office has been my dining room table at
Yes.
home, or my in-laws'
Yeah.
house down the road. Very fortunate they let me work in their little downstairs. It's actually the playroom for the grandkids, and I put a little table in there and started working a bit. So yeah, my office, it's quite simple. I'm actually at work now. We're on rotation at the moment, so you only come in every second week, and then the other week you work from home.
Crazy.
So not many people are back. We've got like kind of almost like a call center sort of setup here. Simple, desk with your keyboard and screen. You plug your laptop in and you do your work. And then yeah, I'm out and about. Not as much. I think social media can sort of catfish you a bit. It looks quite exotic that you're traveling to these far off destinations or whatever. But nah, you have your moments. You actually have your moments where you just physically so busy you cannot leave the office. And then other times you manage to sneak off maybe for a midweek round of golf with a couple of rugby players or something, and of course it sneaks onto social media. I think you always like to boast so your mates can, your mates that are lawyers and accountants can see what life's really like. But the key is, again, also in my role, so I work within the sports marketing department, and it's also very relationship driven. You've got to have good relationships with players and agents and people within the business as well. So yeah, it's every day is different as well.
I think that is very cool.
No, it really is nice, I must say. Again, without trying to slate my mates here that have the real jobs, I don't think their days are too different. They've done damn well for themselves, I might add. But these jobs, you sometimes have to pinch yourself when you realize what you get up to on a daily basis. And also the dress code. I mean, yes, I see
that Eddie hoodie.
Yeah, I mean, it's jeans and tacky or trainers. And then hoodies. It's not the worst dress code either.
No, not at all. Especially dressed in Adidas, it's like, as I say, if you're dressed in Adidas, you can't be unhappy. It's just like,
exactly,
guys, that is science. I promise you. It's an Addy plug there. But so I guess how does recruitment work? Like you guys, just the amount of athletes you guys have at the moment. You look at Wade, who's just won his race, which is awesome. That's an incredible story. But what do you think makes your brand so attractive to? I mean, you look at New Zealand, that's full of Adidas. South Africa is just Adidas. What do you think makes Adidas so attractive to these guys?
Well, listen,
other than Howie Kahn being their boss,
Look, I mean, that's the dream, obviously. No, I mean, listen, it's the best brand, and yes, I'm saying it because I work here, but I wouldn't be working here if it wasn't. It's the same as the players I have in my stable, or that we have within the Adidas stable. There's a reason I support them. Like they're in our stable because we believe they're the best in their positions and in their peer groups and stuff. So you always want the guys that are in Adidas to do well. It's quite simple. It's not that I don't like guys from other brands. I mean, hell, one of my favorite sportsmen of all time has to be Roger Federer, without a shadow of a doubt. But at the moment, you tend to gravitate towards the guys that are in your brand. I mean, look, it's an incredible brand. I mean, the founder, Eddie Dassler, he was determined to do the best for the athlete. That was his sort of mantra. I mean, him and his brother, parted ways. His brother started Puma. Eddie Dassler started Adidas, and he was one of the first guys that used to. I'm going to get it wrong now. Which match it was, but the German national football team was playing a match, and I think the conditions was quite wet underfoot, and the players were slipping. So at halftime, he ran into the change room and changed everybody's studs into longer studs.
That's mad.
Like that was, and there's a great picture of him sitting at somewhere in the office here of him doing the studs, and it's only the best for the athlete. And that was his mantra, and that's what I believe. If a player needs a pair of boots, if a player's sitting in Velcom, he needs a pair of boots, I'll get those boots to him.
Yeah,
Come hell or
yeah.
high water, we'll get him those boots. So yeah, in terms of recruitment, you I guess sometimes you need a bit of luck, but sometimes you could spot Damien Willemse from a mile away. When he was in
Yeah.
grade 11, it was pretty obvious that he'd be a fairly decent rugby player. But as I say, a little bit of luck helps. You look at a guy, look at poor Andre Pollard, for argument's sake. He, in between his second serious knee injury now,
Jeez,
he's also
yeah.
won a World Cup. So he's damn lucky that his ACLs have been in non-World Cup years, for argument's sake. His life could be a lot different, but some guys have had some bad luck already this year. Never mind,
Yeah.
not just Andre, but I think timing's everything, and you like to think that you know what you're doing, but the key is also, I think, within Addy, we look at we look at the athlete holistically. It's not just
Yeah.
about performances, it's about what they offer as human beings as well. Do they have
exactly.
what do they want to do outside of their chosen sports? And I think we have. And the obvious guy you have to mention is Siya Kolisi. I mean, what has he not done off the field?
I know.
It's just incredible. Wade van Niekerk, he's got an incredible story. As born as a very premature baby, and becoming a world champion from lane 8, world record holder. From a lane that people didn't think he would even win from, and now bouncing back from a big knee injury, even a COVID illness on his way to Europe. I mean, mentally, he's just one of the strongest. He's just a very pure, strong, got a lot of self-belief, very spiritual guy. And you just want him. I mean, can you imagine the excitement next year if we go, like Team SA goes off to the Olympics and Wade wins gold and Akani wins gold? And,
I mean, with the World Cup, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really, and I think a guy like Akani Simbini's has got a real, I mean, I'm running, I'd like to think I know a little bit about running, not as much as I do about rugby and cricket, but Akani Simbini is just, he's poised. He just won 3 out of 3 in Europe now. He ran a 10:02 last night. I mean, it's not slow at all.
No.
And I'd love to see both of them come back from Tokyo next year with gold medals around their necks.
Yeah, so I guess Adidas is kind of it's relationship based, so you're gonna build a relationship with the person before the athlete, I guess, is which is probably why it's that attractive as well as being some awesome gear. But I think that the relationships are everything, and I think you guys have got it so right with the athletes.
I think it's important. Like I really I couldn't stress this enough. I just think in everyday life, like without trying to impart wisdom on a youngster or anything like that. Now, I really just believe that you could ask a Tom Dawson Squib or a John Dobson, or you can ask Graham Henry or Eddie Jones or anybody. I really think they would say relationships are key. It's about respect, giving people space to achieve something, but at the same time, obviously, just keeping a little tight rein on them to ensure that they're doing what they need to do. And yeah, I mean, the one thing, another good thing like that Dobbo's always taught like his players and stuff within a team environment is like you get onto that team bus, you walk up to the guy driving the bus, you introduce yourself, you find out what his name is, ask him a little bit about himself, and then it's that kind of thing. Taking a minute out of your day to ask somebody else, how are you? What's driving you today? Because people have got stories. Everyone's got a story.
Yeah. I think so. So let's play a word game. It's just very quick. So the first word or phrase that comes to your head for these words. So first one, Adidas.
Yes, I mean the best brand in the world without a shadow of a doubt.
Weinberg,
just super. I'm just super grateful for the foundation. Just having learned so much there, not in the classroom, I might add, but making some great connections, great time. Our era was very different to your era, so we beat Rondebosch all the time, so don't
oh, sure. I've heard it all before. Stormers.
Yeah, just an honor, like an absolute honor to have been involved there. Again, made some great connections, a great brand that you just hope that they make the right decisions in the next few years.
I know. We're not going to get into that, but I know. UCT.
Yeah, I mean that's for the love of the game. Like I said to you, Dobbo. Sorry, I know I'm going a bit long here. You wanted one word, so one word.
No. This is perfect.
But like Dobbo going off to buy the strapping for the team, a couple of days before match day, there's people at UCT that, like your Phil Kiros, Neil McDonald's, people like that I don't. Well, I'm missing John LaRue, of course, the Godfather, John LaRue. I don't think people would know who they are, but yet these guys are they're very successful businessmen that have put a lot of their own money into that club to see it flourish, only because they had some of their best memories there when they were students.
Sure.
These guys, they've invested time and money as adults with kids, grandkids, missing grandkids' weddings just to be at UCT, or missing kids' weddings to be at UCT, and yet they were also running the tee on for when they're bringing the sand on for when the guys were kicking at posts and stuff like that. So doing it purely for the love of the game, for nothing else but that.
Yo, Newlands.
Yeah, special place in my heart. To have called that home for 4 years. Not many people, like I had a set of keys to get into Newlands. If I wanted to go have a party there on a Saturday night, I could just go let myself in and go have a jaw. No, I mean, just great, an honor and great memories.
Springboks.
Yeah, I mean, they are what South Africa represents, and how cool is it to see that team that won last year being so representative and just being so just good on the field, off the field, and it gives us hope, man. The Springboks give us hope.
That's awesome. I actually spoke to Renee Naylor, the Springbok physio, and she said, like, from where she started, the dynamic of it, the team has changed like ridiculously, almost 100%. And I mean, look how successful we have been this last year, and it's been awesome to see, I think. And cricket.
My first love by some distance. Cricket.
I agree. I'm the same.
Cricket all the way. I mean, I watched like Benson and Hedges night series, back in the day. Was insane. And watching like when obviously SA weren't back in international cricket yet, watching the Ashes and stuff like that, whenever you were able to, and like the fearsome West Indies, those fast bowlers from the 80s, Marshall and his teammates were scary. And then 92, my first year of high school, when we were back in the World Cup, that was insane. So that was in Australia, New Zealand. We used to get up in boarding school, all kinds. You weren't allowed out of your dorm at a certain time, but we were up at 4 a.m, running around in the common room, like watching, stealing coffee from the prefects, and it was just incredible, an incredible time. And that 1992 and 1999 in the semi-final when we tied with the Aussies and lost, those are without a shadow of a doubt my worst sporting memories. Like
darkest days
by some distance.
I think so. I suppose at Province now, let's shift our attention to Province. What role did you play at the Union? And then with Leicester Tigers and the Crusaders.
Okay. Yeah, so at Leicester Tigers, I was a communications officer. I reported into the head of comms and marketing. So I was basically just the content man at Leicester Tigers. I had to, given my history as a rugby writer, I had to produce content and upload it to the website. Okay. Did the match program, did some, any sort of content that came out of Leicester Tigers was done by me. In those days, there was no social media, so there was like I don't know if you know what a message board is, it was like a chat forum or whatever. So I'd have to like monitor the chat forum and all kinds of stuff like that. I did a little bit of like MC work for like small things like interviews with players and stuff like that. Like very, very cool. And a huge, like I mentioned, dealing with Sonny Bill Williams, but when I got to England at that stage, Martin Johnson and Neil Back and all those guys had just won the World Cup with England. So like a huge opportunity to rub shoulders with them and learn a bit about them and their game. And like English rugby is so different to South African rugby, but I think you can take a lot of good from it as well, or you could learn quite a bit from it. The way they approach the game, very, very, very different. And also, actually, when I got to Leicester Tigers, Jaco van der Westhuizen had just done a stint there, and he was a god. Like they just absolutely loved him. He just did a short-term stint there because he missed out on selection for the World Cup in 2003. Okay. Or initially he did, sorry. And he was just a god there, like an absolute god. Then at the Crusaders, I just consulted when they were in South Africa. They were there for 2 weeks. They were there for a pool game or a league game, and in the
Okay.
semi-final. So I just sat in on some team talks and stuff, and ran a few press conferences for them. There was actually talk of they were kind of like half trying to recruit me, but yes, New Zealand just seemed a bit too far away at that stage for me.
A bit
But yeah,
secluded.
yeah, a little bit secluded. And actually, the Christchurch earthquakes had just happened then, so like
Okay. Yeah.
the town was in a bit of disarray. City town, I'm not sure what you can call Christchurch.
Yeah.
And then yeah, at Province had a hell of a title. I think what head of communications or something. It's all about the title.
Literally.
And they reported into the GM of marketing there, and yeah, again, just very similar to Leicester Tigers, content production, and just trying to set the tone in terms of the media in the Cape.
Yeah.
The Western Cape media are without a doubt the most fanatical of all media in the country. Like I'd say the home of rugby in South Africa is Cape Town, because SA Rugby is here, for argument's sake. So
Yeah.
generally you've got a few more. The Stormers will always get the most press, negative or positive. They will always get the most press. So yeah, at times you could have a lot of media coming to one conference. If there was a big announcement, you could expect to have a few guys coming in there for that. Yeah, just fantastic opportunities, like working on, like when they won the Currie Cup in 2012 in Durban was a great memory, and working on the trophy tour, because Province hadn't won a Currie Cup in 11 years at that stage.
Wow.
And working on the trophy tour, as we took the trophy all around Cape Town, it was just unbelievable, and then like the bus breaking down just outside UCT, and then everyone had to like get
No.
off the bus and walk down to Newlands, and, like just some great moments, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And that's one reason why, like, I really can't, I just don't have it in me to criticize sportsmen, because once you see
Yeah.
what they go through, there's no sportsman goes out there on a Saturday to lose, or sports
Yeah.
person. Like, they don't. Yes, they might play horrifically, but I can tell you they didn't do it on purpose. And I think everybody should maybe just spend a couple of days there, just at a union or in an organization, to find out just how much these athletes put in on a daily basis. Like waking up on a Monday morning, unable to walk, going to training, still training, and doing that for 2-3 days in the week, traveling, missing out. I said I missed a few 21sts and whatever in my time. These guys miss weddings of their best friends when they're 30,
Yeah.
a bit different to a 21st or a mate who gets married at 21. It's a little bit different. So yeah, unbelievable time there, and met, again, as I tend to say a lot, met cool people, made some good connections, and I still deal with a lot of them today, which obviously through some of the sponsorships and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's actually why I started this. I don't, I try to keep it. I don't want to say lifestyle, because that's, for me, it's a bit I don't know, cringe. But I think just to understand the personalities behind sportsmen, because again, like you see on Facebook, and it's old people just love typing on articles about players, and it's like you gotta realize, like, these guys don't stuff up on purpose, and that's kind of actually why I started this, just so I can also understand if I had to go into coaching one day, just players, and just, yeah, they're human beings, they don't mess up on purpose, and the work they put in is crazy. It's just, I mean, from an outsider's perspective so far, it just looks like it's not for the faint-hearted at all. So
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, like, also, I'm sure people deal with failures on a daily basis, and for example, if I do something wrong at work, I can guarantee you that 60 million people in South Africa don't know about that.
Yes,
So when the Springboks lose, 60 million people do know about that. So it's of course, I can tell you, cliche of all, but nobody hurts more than those players and those coaches after a game. Like, nobody. And one of the best things I've ever actually seen in respect to that, in relation to that, is so Province won the Currie Cup in 2017 in Durban. John Dobson was the coach, and Damon Willems was at fullback as a youngster, and just it was an outstanding win against all odds. They needed to beat the Sharks in the last league game just to get into the semis, and then they got into semis, got a home semi, won that, and then played the Sharks in Durban and won there. And then the next year the roles were reversed, and the Sharks came here and beat Western Province, and Province were going for a perfect season and a double, which was almost hadn't been done in since 2001, 2001, and they lost. And who would have expected that? We had all. I'd tell my wife, look, don't expect me home until Sunday morning. I'm going to go jaw with everybody. And there we are sitting at the Slug and Lettuce in Newlands, and they'd lost. And all the players were there, or most of them were there. A lot of people drinking, a lot of noise, and Dobbo managed to get the DJ to sort of keep quiet for a bit or turn the music down. And he stood up in front of everyone in the Slug, fans, players, everything. He said, guys, we need to celebrate. We can't just sulk because we've lost. Like, these people have come to watch us as players. I've told you all year long, we need to be good humans. If we're not good humans tonight, we're failing what we set out to achieve at the start of the year. And they had a little fines meeting there, and they got people off the street were getting involved, and they were all singing songs together, and it was amazing. You know, of course, you shouldn't be celebrating a defeat, but they were just trying to make the best out of a bad situation, and I think they won a lot of friends by doing so.
Yeah. How are you doing for time, Howie?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. How long have we been going for here? I can talk.
I think it's like 45 minutes. So I just got a couple more questions, I think.
Yeah. No, go for it.
I'm happy to carry on for as long as possible, but you must just tell me when you say Robbie, stop, and then we'll cut it. And
set your timer there. We've got 15 minutes. I can give you 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the box. I know you said you can't give too much opinion, but yeah, I think, do we go to Australia or don't we? I know we need the money, but it's like, what's the lamb to the slaughterhouse or something?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I never would have thought last year. I mean, how's this? Last year today, I landed in Japan. I was there for the first week of the World Cup. Yeah, yes, what an experience. And I don't think we ever. I mean, I think we all wanted the Springboks to win. You hope, and they won it. And I don't think we ever expected the next year by this time we wouldn't have lost a game. But of course, the fact is we haven't played a game. So I mean, it's been a truly, truly crazy year. I think to suddenly make them go and play now would be quite unfair on them. You know, the New Zealand guys have got a bit of a head start in terms of having played their local Super Rugby tournament and stuff. I just think it could do them a bit of an injustice. But I guess you can't hide. You know, you've got to front up at some point. But at the same time, it's quite worrying that you've Luat Diago's out for 6 months. Archie Snyman did his ACL. Andre Pollard's done his ACL. You know, Bongi Mbonambi tore his hamstring off the bone. You know, Hardy played Super Rugby. Herschel Yankees broke his leg the last time the Stormers played. Kitsi popped a bicep the last time. So, yeah, you've got all these catastrophic injuries. I mean, these are injuries that are happening by accident, but they're all serious. You know, you can't blame conditioning on that. So I just worry that if we force these guys to play, come the Lions tour next year, we could be, you know, might have to call Victor Matfield back or something. So I just think whatever we do, we've really got to look at the well-being of the players. I mean, they are, whether we like it or not, they are the assets. That's why we want to go watch them, want to sponsor them, etc., etc. I mean, I look now in England, they're finishing the Premiership, the current Premiership season, where normally in rugby, normally the new season's kicked off by now. Normally the new season's like 2 weeks old already. Now they're still busy finishing up. These guys in England are playing 2 games a week. So you look at like the Saracens team, there's guys you don't even know. They're all from the academy or whatever, and the next week they play their strongest team. But how the hell can you and now they're shifting into Europe this weekend. They're playing the European Cup quarterfinals. It's tough on these guys, you know. And I see Dylan Hartley's written a book, which ordinarily I don't think I'd actually he wasn't my favorite player. But his book sounds hell of a interesting. Yeah. You know, he just talks about burnout and how these players are just sort of, they burnt their bodies out and stuff like that. And I can see that. I mean, these players put their bodies on the line, and no player is ever going to go in. Like I said, they're not going to go in to go lose on a Saturday, but then you must see how they train. In order to win, they train even harder. So it's very, very tough. Whatever decision gets made you'll just hope gets made in the best interests of the players. But luckily, you know, like with Rassie Erasmus and Jacques Ninabe in charge, you got 2 guys that are damn smart, and they wouldn't expose their players. Of course, it's just whether or not they've got a choice. in the matter.
I mean, I think Joe Marler tweeted, he was like, whose idea was it to have 9 games? No, what's it? Yeah, 9 games in 7 or whatever, how many weeks? So it's like, It's just crazy. And then actually on that Dylan Hartley thing, it's James Haskell has a podcast as well called The Good, the Bad, and the Rugby, and he actually went on, and he was speaking about like, yeah, he played 98 tests for England, but now he's got memory loss, and he's so you got to feel for the guys who put their bodies on the line so much for the game.
No, absolutely. I mean, you look at a guy like Jean de Villiers. He played over 100 tests,
Sure.
but how many games didn't he miss? With various knee injuries and shoulder ops and all kinds of things. I'll never forget when the Stormers were on tour. We did a media conference, like a sort of, in those days we didn't have Zoom, so I can't even remember how we used to get it done. We did like an old school teleconference. Everyone had to like dial in, and one of the guys, I said, look, Jean, are you 100% fit to play? And Jean said, well, actually, I'm not, but I'm never 100% fit to play.
Yeah.
And they ran the headline on the Monday, De Villiers plays, I always play with injuries. And it was like, but hang on here, he never said that. And it's exactly what Dylan Hartley said in an interview that I heard on the Times podcast. And he said, listen, there was no way you were ever 100% fit every game. It's just not humanly possible. No, you can't. So these guys, they really do put their bodies on the line. I mean, look, it must be an incredible, like, we'd all love to be professional sportsmen or rugby players, whatever, but you certainly push your body. You imagine that like rev counter in your car, when you rev in the car and it gets into the red line. It's lakka, the car goes fast, but hell's it makes a nice noise, but it's not good for the car.
that is a great description. I think let's move on to the Lions. How excited are you for the tour? And then also maybe some predictions. What's it going to do for SA Rugby in terms of a victory for us?
Listen, I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. I watched the first test in '97 at Newlands. Cried myself to sleep that night. Matt Dawson's little dummy in the corner. 2009, I managed to go to Durban for the first test, Joburg for the third test, and I caught one of the games at noon, or one or two of the games at Newlands. It is, to me, it's a rugby tour, which is just the best. So it honestly rivals a World Cup in my mind. Like, it's just behind a World Cup. I mean, the reality is too, I think Victor Matfield said it. He's played in a lot of 3, 7, 11, 15. He played in 4 World Cups, but only 1 Lions tour.
That's mad.
So Percy Montgomery played in the Lions tour in '97, and then was a coach by the time 2009 came. So in terms of once in a lifetime, it is once in a lifetime. Like, there's no other way. It is. I mean, maybe Beast must have been tempted to maybe carry on for one more crack at the Lions, but I mean, he did it in '09. So it'll be outstanding. It'll be great for the. I mean, let's say no COVID here, and it was definitely happening, and all travel's open, being insane for the economy at the best of times. It'll be insane for the Springbok or SA Rugby economy, never mind. The amount of tourists that come. I've got a lot of friends that are coming. All my mates from back when I was back in England. There's some incredible people coming over. The Lions fans tour well, and to come to South Africa on the exchange rate. I mean, like, there's, it is just insane. I hope and pray that the tour happens and that there's no restrictions at all. Fingers crossed on that side. And in terms of on the field, look, I think the Springboks will win, and I'm not just saying so, but like, I think the Springboks they're just the most physical team in the world. People don't like playing against them. And they've got some incredible, skillful players to mix in with that. So I think the Springboks at home, they'll win it without a shadow of a doubt. Whether it's 2-1 or 3-0 remains to be seen. But I mean, let's say 2-1 to the Bokke. I just hope, first and foremost, that all our best players are available.
Yes.
Because you don't want guys to miss out on that. You hope that a Pollard and Loet de Jager and Ergies Snyman and all those guys are somehow back in the mix by then, and you also just hope that all the tourists can come out for that.
Yeah. So are you like certain that the Boks will win? Obviously, I'm a huge Springbok fan, and I want them to win, and I think they will win. But there is a part of me that's like, that Lions team under Warren Gatland is going to be insane.
Listen, he is an outstanding rugby coach. I mean, there's even there's this wild rumor that Scott Robertson wants to get involved as well. I mean, the beauty is they can bring anybody. They can bring anybody that they want. I mean, I see James Lowe, who plays for Leinster, is qualifying for Ireland next year, so he can come on that tour. And he's he on form is one of the better wings in the world. You know, they've got some outstanding rugby players. You know, Moro Itoje is exceptionally good rugby player. Kyle Sinclair is like quite a skillful prop, but I mean, you know, he lasted 2 minutes in the World Cup final, you know. So look at again, and I think a lot of it is luck. You know, like I said, I hope Pollard's back and Lewart's back, etc. If they're not back, it's going to be a different story. Without a doubt. Hopefully don't forget that a lot of our top players are playing abroad at the moment, playing in England, know these guys very well.
True.
The other thing, I guess, that, you know, the one thing is we haven't played a lot this year. So Jacques Nienaber hasn't really had a lot of time as the new head coach with his new combinations and stuff. But I think, you know, form and fitness as it was, not as it is, because there's no form and fitness at the moment. Form and fitness as it was, it'll be a hell of a series. Blood and guts will get spilt. But I think the Springboks.
Springboks 3-0. Okay, you heard it there.
I don't mind. Keep that in with pleasure.
As long as we celebrate in Greenpoint, then it's fine. Then doesn't matter what happens anywhere else.
Exactly.
So let's go into the Q&A quick. Who do you prefer more, Jonesy or Pickles? For the guys at home, Pickles is Chris Van Sales, just by the way, for the guys at home.
No, flip, eh? I mean, Jonesy left us, eh? He left us, and he even left Adidas when he left South Africa. So Chris Van Sale all the way. I beat him on the golf course quite recently, and he actually tried to phone me a lot today, and I kept missing his calls. So Chris Van Sale.
Okay. How does recruitment work for players playing overseas?
Are you talking within Adidas?
Yes, yeah.
So generally, if a guy is based in South Africa, I'll look after him. If he's based there, then it's a little bit tougher. But at the moment, it's changed a bit now with the guy still playing for the Springboks. So generally, a player, let's just say you leave tomorrow and go play for Wasps. I've never heard of you before. It's going to be quite hard for me to sort of start looking after you. But if we've got an existing relationship, there's many ways to make things work.
And is there Howie Kahn of England?
Yeah, there is. Yep, there is.
Okay.
But generally, the countries tend to work quite separately from each other. But there's always ways and means to help people out.
Okay. And then, which sport comprises your main focus in SA?
I was going to say, well, rugby compromises because I tend to concentrate on that too much. Look, it's rugby, cricket, road running, track and field, trail running, in my personal portfolio. And then, of course, there's within the Adidas stable, football's a huge part of the business, obviously, as well. It's basically all the sports, really.
Okay. Howie, thanks so much. I know you're a busy man, and I really appreciate you taking just this. It looks like an hour now that we've chatted.
So a lot of shit,
It feels like 5 minutes. So thanks so much. I really do admire what you've done, and it's someone I certainly look up to and would love to have a beer with sometime soon. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Robbie. Look, you say you look up to me, but when you meet me in person, you'll probably look down on me. I'm not exactly. I'm Faf de Klerk height, Herschel Yankees height. But no, listen, lovely to have to be on here. Thank you for asking me. Like I said in the beginning, you must have run out of guests scraping the barrel with the likes of myself. But a pleasure to be on here, and well done with what you've done. I've had a listen a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and then I caught up after you got hold of me. I tried to catch up a bit. Keep doing what you're doing, and just keeping those relationships strong. And hopefully we'll catch up. We'll get your uncle to come pay for the beers, and we can go grab a beer.
Yeah, it's on him.
Life's back to normal. No, sounds good, man.
Howie, thanks so much.